early Saxon kingdoms. That was in England in the 7th and 8th century. That was before William the Conqueror came with the conquest, the Norman conquest. And there England was not so much connected, and the smaller regions inside of the seven kingdoms, the heptarchies, were ruled by smaller local lords. Now there was Northumbria, and then Mercia, and then East Anglia and Essex, Kent and Sussex, and Cornwall. And then, of course, the other regions, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland. And there were many towns uprising, new villages were founded, and agriculture was everywhere possible. The south was fertile, and the southern regions with Kent and Wessex, these were also regions profiting from the Gulf Stream bringing warm water and so on. Now, and Kent and Wessex and also then Northumbria were the first one who were Christianized. There was Saint Augustine. He came in 597 to Kent, in Canterbury. And when there was King Aethelfrith of Northumbria, he was encouraging learning then also, together with also there was another person, Bede, a scholar monk, and encouraging learning. And then there was King Redwald of East Anglia, and he was buried then in Viking manner, in a longship with treasures underneath a mound of earth, and that was found in 1939. And there was then King Offa of Mercia, the other region, and he built a dike towards Wales to keep the Welsh people out. And he made then a trading pact with the Emperor Charlemagne of France, the region, to encourage the trading between England and the continent. And then there were Viking invasions to the east side of England, and Wessex became basically, and Wessex with its King Alfred became defendant against them. And King Alfred then became then the main monarch of England because he was basically doing that so good and mainly. And that is according to the history of kings and queens of England and Scotland, written by Edmund Swinglehurst on the pages 12 and 13. Welcome. I'm trying to learn history today, the early Saxon kings, and after we've done that, we're gonna do squat training. And if you participate in the squat training, then it's very obvious. The early Saxon kings, 600 until 871, before the arrival of the Normans and their efforts to unite England, there were poor communications, and the populace was divided into regional groups ruled over by a local lord. Okay, I think with the poor communications, I mean it wasn't completely connected as one thing. There were local areas and they were ruled by a local lord. There were 7 regions known as the Heptarchy, and they comprised Kent, Sussex, Essex, East Anglia, Wessex, Mercia, and Northumbria. All of them were fertile for agriculture and had abundant springs for settlement. Springs? I don't know what springs are. They soon became self-contained kingdoms. Okay, these 7 regions called Heptarchy, they all had good ground to make agriculture and plant things, and soon were settlements appearing. It sprang up settlements, lots of towns were founded. They soon became self-contained kingdoms. These 7 were settlements. Kent and Wessex were the most favoured for their southern position and access to the English Channel and its warm Gulf Stream waters, which provided a temperate climate. So Kent and Wessex, that is south here, that was at the English Channel, here between France and Great Britain. And there's also the Gulf Stream coming from the Gulf of Mexico and up there. That makes it a bit warmer for water. And also the river all over a little bit. These kingdoms and Northumbria were the first to be Christianized and profited from the administrative talent and knowledge of the educated clergy who arrived as missionaries. So Kent, Wessex, and also Northumbria were the first kingdoms where Christian missionaries came, and they also governed them. Governed them, and here said, to an advantage of the country. Ethelthryth of Northumbria was one of the first to adopt the new religion. So there was a person, Ethelthryth, he was Northumbria, but it's in the middle, and he became a Christian, a Christian. And in his kingdom, learning was encouraged, and Bede, a scholar priest from the Yarrow and Monkswell monasteries near Durham, was one of the leading figures. I somehow know Bede, I don't know where from, but I know it's somehow different. I think that is a person. So there was Ethelthryth of Northumbria here, and in the middle, and he was encouraging learning, and also was there another person, Bede, a scholar priest, yes, there was a person from Yarrow and Monksworth, from the Yarrow and Monksworth monasteries, we are near Durham, so we're in the center of, in the center of Northumberland, and he was one of the leading figures in schooling or something, education. The height of Northumbrian power came in the 7th century when King Oswy tried to unite his kingdom as one unity under his control. So Northumbria was a kingdom, and there was the King Oswy, and he tried to unify all the people there. So it was ruled by local lords. There was an overall king, but it was ruled by local lords. In East Anglia, that is here, in East Anglia, King Redwald attempted to do the same, and his power and influence are reflected in his funeral arrangements. So in East Anglia, also the King Redwald tried to have all people governed under him, and also that he was quite successful in it and had quite some power, is reflected in the luxury of his funeral arrangements. He was buried. Oh, here's explained. He was buried in the traditional Viking manner in a longship, surrounded. That is Sutton Hoo. He was buried in a traditional Viking manner in a longship, surrounded by treasures, which, when found in 1939 at Sutton Hoo, revealed the high skills that prevailed during the 7th century. I just heard about it that near Sutton Hoo, which is in Sussex, I think was it, that there is one of the Saxon kings buried with treasure and armor underneath a mound in a wooden ship. So it was King Redwald, and he was buried in traditional Viking tradition. Found in 1939, he was surrounded by treasures. The 8th century saw Murcia, that is so just here in the middle. Murcia is in Spain, in southeastern Spain, south of Valencia. Now, the 8th century saw Murcia as the dominant kingdom of the Heptarchy under King Offa. So in the 8th century, when this region here with Murcia was the most dominant kingdom in Great Britain, and that was under King Offa, the most dominant kingdom of the Heptarchy. Heptarchy, let's try to get that name. Heptarchy. These are the 7 regions: Kent, Sussex, Essex, East Anglia, Wessex, Mercia, and Northumbria. So not Scotland and Ireland, just England. And Wales is not listed. So just England. His kingdom, so King Offa, his kingdom stretched to the edge of Wales, yes, here Mercia, to Wales, which remained British, and he built a dike along the foothill of the Welsh mountains to prevent their return into his territory. His kingdom stretched to the edges of Wales, which remained British, and he built a dike, I don't know what a dike is, dike along the foothill of the Welsh mountains to prevent the Wales return into his territory. I think he built a wall between Mercia and Wales. I don't know, but if it's true, I want to see it. A man of vision and immense ambition, he made a pact with the Emperor Charlemagne. He's mentioned in the movie A Knight's Tale, 2004, I think, with Heath Ledger. And there, not bad, sorry. Paul Bettany is holding a speech, and he's mentioning there that his lineage can be traced back beyond Charlemagne. And Charlemagne, I'm not familiar with the name, but in other languages, the person which is mentioned with another name is an important king of France, I think. So I don't really know who Charlemagne is, but in that movie, and I have it in different languages seen, another person is mentioned in other languages, so I think I know who Charlemagne is, but I don't really know it. So he king of Mercia, made a pact with the Emperor Charlemagne to encourage trade between England and the continent. So Mercia, the king of Mercia, King Offa, made a pact with Charlemagne of more or less France, and they were trading. Further progress in Saxon England was now slowed down by the Danish Viking invasions. So the Viking invasions. And then the process in, where was it? Saxon. That is about being Saxon. England was now slowed down by the Danish Viking invasion, and this brought Wessex to the fore as defenders of English territory. Wessex is here in the south. So the Vikings were here attacking on this coast, on the east coast of England, and they also conquered something and stayed there. And it seems they got until Wessex then, and Wessex was now defending the English territory against the Danish and Scandinavian Vikings. King Alfred's resolute opposition to the Danes made it the most important member of the Heptarchy, and Alfred the monarch of all England. But of whom was now King Alfred? Wessex. So King Alfred was of Wessex, and he had a strong opposition against the Danes and the Vikings, and that made him an important person in all the 7 heptarchies, and so he became the monarch of all England. Anglo-Saxon men were tough and often brutal, but they tended to dress comfortably. Those who wore stockings decorated them with cross garters. Cross garters? Well, there's an illustration, but I don't really understand. Timeline of the period 680-171. 597, St. Augustine settles in Canterbury and begins the conversion of the Kingdom of Kent to Christianity. So St. Augustine, 597, Canterbury. And 600, Augustine makes Paulinus Bishop of York, that is more north. The English defeat the Britons at the Battle of Chester, 613. Led by Ethelwulf of Northumbria, 632. Mercia and North Wales defeat Northumbria and Hatfield. Edwin, king of Northumbria and overlord of the English, is killed in the battle. Penda becomes king of Mercia, 641. Oswald becomes king of Northumbria, 685. Ecgfrith of Northumbria is defeated and killed by the Picts at the Battle of Neshtorsmere, 716. Afterbald becomes king of Mercia, 757. Offa becomes king of Mercia, 802. Ecgberht becomes king of Wessex, 829. Ecgberht becomes in effect king of all in England, 839. Ethelwulf becomes king of Wessex, and Athelstan king of Kent, Essex, Sussex, and Surrey on Ecgberht's death, 866. Ethelred I becomes king of Wessex, and 871. Ethelred I dies of his wounds at a month after defeating the Danes at Merton. Okay, that was the early Saxon kings part to history. If you were here for history, you can go directly to the next part of history. There will at one point go over it all again and try to make them one presentation about it, maybe even two, but I think one, about the early Saxon, or whatever it was, kingdoms. If you stay here and participate in the squad training, then it's werdet ihr aufskriegen. And we're starting with the mushroom, Lego. And hold up and down. And the circle. Or a waving mushroom. Up, Lego. Up, down. And circle the foot. Up, direction. And take your leg at the ankle. And make a straight back. Other leg. One leg to the side, the train stop. Toes in front, stretch your inner side of the leg. And to the other side. from side to side. The mantis. And begin to the middle. And no squats. Legs wide apart and we're doing 12. Number 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6 and the second half. 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12. And now the 6 back squat squeeze. Down into quarter squat. Press against the top part of a leg. And on the other side. Halfway down and press in the middle of the leg. And on the other side. And 3/4 squat, press close to the knee. And the other side. And up again. And now the fastest to out of the water pond. 3/4 squat, press against the leg, go towards it. Other leg, press over to the other side. Press over to the knee and the other side again. Press over. The last 2, press over. Press. And again up. And the last exercise in the propeller. Full squat, arms to the sides, over to one side, press against the leg, look to the hand. Middle and over, press against the leg, look to one hand. Middle and over. And a little stretching. Biker sit, stretch, heel onto the ground, pull the toes in. To the left, pull in. Right, pull in. Middle, move from left to right. Lower, heel onto the ground and pull in. To the right, pull in. Left, middle, and move from left to right. One leg up again. Up one. Take the leg. Change. Legs to the sides, moving around. And breathe out. Again, in and close the legs. And leave again out. That was the squat training. I thank you very much and until next time.